Get your team ready, we're headed out.
Yes, sir.
You're the new recruit. Welcome to the JTF Wolverines. I'm Commander James Romer.
What's happening, people? My name is goukigod, and in this video I wanted to discuss the Infinite Warfare beta because I actually got a chance to play it because, surprise surprise, Activision opened it up because I guess they didn't get that many pre-orders in the end after all. So I'm glad that I did get a chance to play it so that I could see for myself if I actually did like it, if some of my concerns were confirmed, or if I was just looking at it in the incorrect way. And I'm just going to say it at the beginning of the video now, if you're a Call of Duty fanboy, you might want to turn off because I did not enjoy this game at all. And I tried to go into it with an open mind. I tried to be as objective as possible and accept the game for what it was. But yeah, I did not enjoy my time at all with the beta. So I'm just going to cover this beta and obviously the multiplayer component of it. I haven't played the single player part of it at all. And just to be clear, I don't dislike this game because I think it's poorly made. I think if you've really enjoyed the past two games, so Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare, you're probably really going to enjoy this one as well because it's very much more of the same. And that's totally okay. That's completely your bag. It just wasn't my bag. I think for me, it just represents everything that I don't like about where the franchise has gone. So just quickly to summarize what was in this beta, obviously it was only available to people on the PS4. I don't think everything was available in the beta. I think there were certain guns and rigs that were not available. Classic guns, for instance, were locked out, and I think there was only a handful of the rigs that will be in the full game. I initially thought that there was only a few maps in the beta as well because I just kept playing the same ones. Like I must have played Terminal at least 20 times, so I thought that there was like 3 or 4 maps in rotation. But as I played more and more, occasionally a random map would slip in there, so I don't actually know if it was all the maps or if it was only a handful. But yeah, either way, I think the map rotation was absolutely terrible because most of the time I seemed to play on the same 2 or 3 maps. So I'm going to try and keep it as concise as possible. There's a lot of different points that I've written down that I want to talk about and things that I didn't like about the game. But let's start with the appearance. The design of this game is, on one hand, really colourful, but at the same time really bland as well. The maps, for example, are really colourful. There's lots of primary colours and contrasting colours within the maps themselves. But at the same time, the design, the sci-fi design of the whole thing, including the weapons, is just kind of bland, and it doesn't look like it's something that we haven't seen before. It just kind of looks like a combination of Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare. Along with the really colourful maps, you've got really horrible, colourful weapon camos as well. I think one of the first things that I unlocked, like literally the first thing that I unlocked, was a neon tiger camo for my gun, which is like neon green, and I've seen pink weapons and blue weapons, and it's just awful. It feels like we're going paint gunning, or not even, it feels like we're having a water pistol fight. It just, I don't know, it's not my bag at all. In terms of the game design, the pick 10 system returns, which is good. I think going to pick 13 was Ghost pick 13, potentially, which was too much. So I think pick 10 is kind of the perfect number for me. So I don't particularly have any complaints with that system at all. The game design in general feels very familiar. There's new gadgets and the rigs are new, obviously, but in terms of how it all plays out, how you set up your classes, kill streaks and all that, it just feels very, very familiar. Now to talk a little bit about the rigs, if you don't know what they are, they're kind of like the specialists from Black Ops 3, but they seem to be much more powerful. And on the whole, I don't really like them at all. I think they make a lot of the matches less gun on gun, and some of the rigs feel really overpowered as well. Like there's one which I don't know what it's called, and I'm not sure if it's the special ability or if it's a kill streak or what, but basically it seems to run around like a monkey and swat people, and it's like a one-hit kill, and you can't see this thing because it's so low. And I've got a pretty decent set of headphones and I haven't been able to sound haul this thing, and there's a couple of different things. Like the one that I was using, you pull out these 2 Uzis and it just melts people, and you get it. Like obviously performing well, you get it faster, but you get it regardless. It's on a timer, so everybody has access to this really overpowered weapon. To move on to map design, the map design for me was a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, awful colors aside, the design itself in terms of the layout and the buildings and all the paths that you can run, the routes that you can run, some were good, and then others were just awful. A lot of them have a huge amount of verticality. It feels like you get shot from loads of different angles, so it just feels like people can come from any direction. And I know that a lot of that was probably me because I didn't know the maps all that well, but even on the Terminal reimagining map, which is a map that I've played on a load in previous games, it looks slightly different, but the layout is more or less the same. I just felt like I was getting shot at from all different kinds of directions, and the movement mechanics don't really do much to help this. So to move on to the movement mechanics, I guess the best way to describe them is it's kind of somewhere between Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3. I know that some people have said that it's not really like Advanced Warfare at all, but for me it's got that same sort of bouncy, trampoline-y, floaty, wall runny kind of, I don't know, it just feels like your feet are very rarely on the ground. Now the time to kill is not super quick in this game. I know that a lot of people have complained about lag and some people have said that the time to kill is crazy. My personal experience is it's not super fast. In actual fact, I feel it's quite low, but maybe that was my connection being terrible and my shots actually not connecting. The movement, on the other hand, does feel really fast, obviously being able to boost jump and wall run and slide and all this other stuff. There's also a perk which can make you even faster if you chain all your stuff together, so there's a real emphasis on speed even if the gunplay itself isn't all that fast. My biggest problem with the movement system is having players just bunny hop all over the place. And also I find it really annoying if you're like pre-aiming the corner, like you've got your sights up, you're moving slowly around a corner because you know there's an enemy there, and then you just have someone drop in from the ceiling that you didn't know was there, that was obviously flying around or wall running or something like that, and they just cap you. And I've got a huge amount of gameplay that kind of shows this in action. My other biggest gripe with the gameplay, and I'm not sure what was causing it, but it seemed like there was a ton of snipers, like loads of snipers. Every map, it felt like at least half the lobby were snipers, and there's no scoping going on. I saw 360 no scopes happening, and this to me is really frustrating. I understand if you're someone who enjoys sniping and enjoys no scoping, then this is probably awesome for you, but I just don't think it's fair. Like if I run around a corner with an SMG with one of the fastest rates of fire and I dump my clip into you, like I fire first and you don't die first because you get a one-shot kill in my face with a no scope, it's just so frustrating. So let's talk a little bit about the weapons. The weapons is one of the biggest or most important components of a Call of Duty game, at least I think anyway. Overall, I think the weapon design is probably better, in my opinion, to Black Ops 3. It seems like a lot of the weapons are based on real life, like current present day real life weapons. Like for instance, the FHR-40, which was the submachine gun that I was using, kind of looks like a futuristic interpretation of a P90. But overall, I thought that the weapon design was pretty boring. The design kind of all blends together. And they're all pretty standard fare as well. You've got your SMGs, your light machine guns, your assault rifles, etc, etc. There are some sci-fi weapons which are interesting, like there's a pistol thing that seems to like vaporize people on the spot, which is annoying to get killed by, but at least it's creative. Weapons can have up to 6 attachments as well. I never ranked up high enough to be able to attach that many. That's kind of a crazy amount of attachments, and that's, you know, that's kind of cool. It would be very hard to balance the weapons, I guess, in that scenario, but I don't really have any problem with that. But the disappointing thing about the attachments is that I would say that 90% of them or 95% of them are pretty much the same from previous games, with only a handful of new things. So for instance, I think something that I saw was new was called Hollow Point, which increases the damage that you do from headshots. But apart from that, it's just standard fare. You have extended mags, you have silencers, you have red dots, you have foregrips, quick draw handles, all that sort of stuff. There's not a great deal of new stuff there. The last thing with the weapons is there's obviously classic weapons returning. Now I think all the classic weapons were locked out of the beta, you couldn't use them at all. And they're not called the actual gun name that they were in previous games. So for instance, the Spaz 12 is returning from, I think it looks like the Modern Warfare 2 variant. But it's not called the Spaz 12, it's called the S-Ravage, obviously after Sandy Ravage because he's an absolute tank with that weapon. But you've got other classic weapons in there like the UMP-45, G18s, there's a bolt-action sniper rifle, sorry I don't know what one it is, but it looks like it's from Modern Warfare 2 perhaps. But then there's a couple of odd ones, like you've got the ARX-160, which was from Ghosts and Advanced Warfare. I don't really know if I classify that as a classic weapon, like it's been in 2 games, but they're not exactly old games, and it's not exactly an iconic weapon, so that's a bit of an odd choice. Maybe that was just easy for them to port over from Ghosts, I'm not sure. The equipment is definitely the area where there's the most creativity or new items. Not all of it is great, but it's nice to see that there's some brand new things that we haven't seen in previous games before. But overall, yeah, I think the lack of originality is really stifling this game, and I know that that's a general complaint that Call of Duty has had for years, but I feel it so much in this game more than any other game. And in many ways, to me, it kind of feels like a Black Ops 3 clone. Like, there are so many similarities and parallels, like the aftermatch thing where all the characters kind of line up and can do taunts and stuff feels very much like Black Ops 3. And like I said, things like the perks and the attachments and just the general art direction just all feels like they were looking at Black Ops 3 as the template when they made this game. I think what it does well, this game, it does really well. I just don't like what it does. You know, the movement mechanics, the sci-fi setting, it's a solid game. I mean, obviously it has some lag issues and balance issues and design issues and whatnot, but from a technical standpoint, I think more or less it's a solid game. I don't think it's a poorly made game at all. So I think just like when Ghost came out, it felt tired and people were sick of the modern military setting. I think this game has come out at the point where people are sick of the sci-fi military shooter. And yeah, I don't know. I can't see this being a big hit for Activision and Infinity Ward. And it'll be really interesting to see if they can change the direction of next year's game, because I think if next year's game is another sci-fi shooter, the franchise is going to go downhill rapidly. And people say, oh, Call of Duty's been going downhill for years, but I think financially, each year it does quite well, and I think this year is probably going to be another Ghosts. That's my prediction anyway. And then I think if next year's game is another sci-fi Call of Duty, then we're probably going to see larger numbers drop off as well. We'll see. But anyway, let me know if you got involved with the beta, what your thoughts on the game are. Were you keen to play it and less so now that you've played it? Or, you know, were you someone who was a skeptic and now that you've played it, you're quite excited to pick up the full game? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. I'm certainly someone who tried to keep an open mind, and now I'm totally not going to be buying this game at all. But yeah, let me know what you think. That's all I've got for you in this video. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm out.